Alright, good evening folks, it's Enforcer Matt and welcome back to another Short War video, and today we're receiving breaking news coming out of Moldova that the Russians have launched a false flag attack in Transnistria to try to cause tensions to rise between Moldova and that breakaway region. And we're also learning that there's been a major Ukrainian drone attack on a Moscow airport. The French are still saying they want to send troops to Ukraine, and also the Free Russia Legion is absolutely plowing their way through Belgrade and taking yet more major buildings. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right into our first piece of news, which goes to Fitux News. And we can see here that local outlets have released footage of the drone attack against the helicopter in Transnistria, and Transnistria's Ministry of State Security says the drone came from the direction of the Odessa Oblast in Ukraine. And just some quick backstory on this, by the way, this is a helicopter located in Transnistria, and it was allegedly attacked by quote-unquote Ukrainians this morning from the Odessa region. But we'll learn in just a moment, this helicopter has actually been abandoned for quite some time, and it apparently was just filled with fuel. And there was a CCTV camera set up to watch it. So very suspicious indeed, but let's take a look at the footage itself and see what that explosion looked like. And as you can see there it is in the top left corner. There is no sound with this video, by the way, so you can see the helicopter exploding. It's now on fire and smoking quite a bit, and then now we'll get a close-up shot of the actual explosion itself. And there you can see there was a drone coming in from the left side. It appeared to strike the side of the helicopter and cause the fuel to ignite. But like I said, this was an abandoned helicopter, so for it to be freshly fueled up just like that and ready to blow, that's quite unusual. But with that, let's go ahead and jump right into our next article here, which goes to Fitux News as well, and it says it looks like the Mi-8 helicopter hit by a drone in Transnistria has not moved since at least 2003, and it was in a non-operational state and couldn't even fly if it wanted to. And you'll see here in this photo, there is the helicopter on the ground circled in red. It has been sitting there for ages, for decades actually, and it has never moved. So also there was a CCTV camera set up somewhere over here on this shed, by the way, which is also abandoned itself. So there's nobody actively monitoring that building. So for there to be camera set up, that was clearly somebody trying to catch that on camera as it happened for propaganda reasons. So this is already looking pretty shaky, but even with that, we have yet more news in our next post here, which is also from Fitux News. And we can see the Moldovan government states that the following reported drone attack on an Mi-8 helicopter in Transnistria was an attempt to cause fear and panic in the region. The helicopter, like I said, had not worked for several years, and Moldova, in contact with the Ukrainian side, cannot confirm any attack in the Transnistrian region. So that pretty much throws away the story of a drone coming in from Odessa, because Ukraine really has no advantage to doing that. By attacking a helicopter from the Ukrainian side in the Moldovan territory, that is not helping out Ukraine's cause whatsoever, because Ukraine would probably end up coming to Moldova's aid if Transnistria was attacked by Russia. So that story makes no sense whatsoever. So logically speaking, we're led to only one conclusion, and we get to that conclusion in our next post right here, which is from us on Twitter, @It'sTheEnforcer. And the only logical conclusion, like I said, is that this is a false flag attack by Russia. It was staged to spark tensions between Moldova and Transnistria, because right now we've been told many times before that Russia is going to try to destabilize Moldova by carrying out these actions, these terrorist actions inside of Transnistria, and we see that happening right before our very eyes here. And this is a very lame attempt by Russia. This was exposed within just a few hours of them doing this. So it didn't last very long, and also this has now shown the rest of the world that there is indeed a concerted effort to try to destabilize the country of Moldova, because Russia has been exposed now, and I'm sure some heads are going to roll inside of Russia for this very lame and weak attempt, which was exposed very rapidly. But with that, we're moving on to our next post here, which goes to Visegrad 24, and we can see that there has been a major attack on the airport in Moscow, a major airport, and we have some footage right here of that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the video and see what we can see from this attack from Ukraine. And as you can hear, the sound is very muted in this video, but you can see the pedestrians on the ground looking up. They can hear the drones in the sky, and they know something is going on, and they are getting the hell out of there. They are scurrying their way out of the region, or out of the area at least, maybe the region too. They might be that scared, but they are indeed panicking. But with that, we have even yet more footage from this drone attack on this Moscow airport, and this post is from Nexta, and let's go ahead and take a look and see what we can see in this video as well.
Бля, где-то О, летит, стопудово, нахуй.
So here he is standing outside the airport.
Сейчас въебут нахуй. Над этим же местом, да,
You can
летит?
hear the drone coming in right now.
Вон он, нихуя пролетел. Видно было, бля. Он там где-то. Вон он, вон.
And there was the explosion.
Нихуя.
Красавцы.
Ёба, они чё, охуели уже третий, ёбана в рот, блядь.
So as you could hear, there was that haunting sound of a lawnmower coming in. That was one of those attack drones, and it hit right on the airport building on the top of it. So now that we've seen all the footage from the attack outside of the building on the external part of it, let's go ahead and move to the inside of the building and see what happened inside of there. And in this post from Visegrad 24, we can see the airport in Moscow filling up with smoke after several Ukrainian drone strikes, and like I said, this is Moscow's second largest airport. So let's take a look at the interior of the building's damage. And as you can hear in the background, these smoke alarms are going off in the building. There's smoke pretty much everywhere, and that drone has clearly caused damage inside the building and has caused them to call in the fire brigade to try to come save the day. And we know how that goes with the Russian fire brigade. They're going to show up and it's going to be a clown show, and it's going to get even worse than it is now. So they're not going to help out very much. But this airport is in absolute chaos. And with that, we're moving on to our next post here, and we're going to switch gears just a little bit to focus back on the Belgrade region and the Freedom of Russia fighters. And we can see here in this post from Nexta that Russian volunteers are fighting for Ukraine from the Siberian Battalion, and they've announced the seizure of the administration building of the Gorkovsky settlement in the Belgrade region. So they have yet captured another administrative building, this time in the Gorkovsky settlement, and Belgrade is slowly getting under Freedom of Russia Legion's control as the days go by, quite rapidly at this point actually, and much faster than we'd expected. And we can see in the photo right here that they are actually treating that Russian flag just like it should be treated. They are stomping on it, and they're letting it be known that they are here to save the day. And also we see here they have some quite nice weaponry. That is a very nice rifle he's got right there. That might be a Daniel Defense AR-15. Quite nice indeed, and they are well equipped. And with that being said, moving on to our next post here, we have one from Visegrad 24, and we're learning that the Chechen volunteers allied with Ukraine have captured the Russian village of Gorkovsky, and they've also received help from the Siberian Battalion, as we saw in that last post, made out of ethnic minorities from Siberia who want independence from Russia, but we do know for certain that the Belgrade region of Russia is absolutely being sieged even to this day. It has not been snuffed out by Russia, and that rebellion is absolutely picking up steam, and they're going to be moving on beyond Belgrade before long if it keeps up at this pace. But with that being said, we're moving on to our next post here, which also goes to Visegrad 24, and we can see in this post that Ukraine has struck yet another Russian oil refinery, and this time 7 Ukrainian suicide drones hit the refinery in Slavyansk on Kuban in the Krasnodar region of Russia, and this is now the 6th Russian refinery struck in a single week. And we actually have some pretty comprehensive footage showing this attack on this new oil Russian refinery right here, this Russian oil refinery that is. So let's go ahead and take a look at this video and see what we have.
Где ПВО?
Смотри, вот летит. Вот летит, видно его.
And you can hear the drone flying in right now.
Вот это сейчас добро въебет. Охуеть. Сейчас пиздец как въебет, а это огромный летит. Ох, сейчас он даст.
And as you can see, there's already a fire out in the
Ничего не
distance.
работает, ничего никакого ПВО не срабатывает.
Oh no, the air defense isn't working. There is none, man.
Вот отстреливает его.
And now the oil workers are coming out to shoot at it with AKs again, which never works. Oh, and there was the hit.
Туда же.
So that was the end of the video, but we know that a total of 7 Ukrainian suicide drones hit that refinery, and it took it out completely. So that thing is going to be out of action for quite some time, and there is no air defense around it. Make no mistake, those Russians are confused. There is none. The air defense is the oil workers coming out with AK-47s, and they can't shoot worth a damn. So the oil refinery has been taken out once again, and it's the 6th one struck in a week, and now the Russian oil industry is in an absolute panic as well. So with that, we're moving on to yet our next post of the day, which also goes to Visegrad 24, and we're learning of a new statement by Macron, which is the French president. And Macron says, perhaps at any given moment, I don't want to do it, and I will never take the initiative, but we will have to move to ground operations of some kind to counter Russian forces, and it's France's strength that we could do that. And he said that speaking to Le Parisien, but we once again have Macron floating the idea of putting publicly troops inside of Ukraine to counter the Russian forces. And clearly, he's talking about combat troops in this case. He's moved on from simply talking about support troops, and now it appears he's talking about actually direct combat troops, which is quite a shift and quite more severe than simply putting mechanics on the ground to help out Ukraine with their support efforts. But with that big piece of news out of the way, we're moving on to yet our next post here, which is also from Visegrad24. We got quite a few from them today. It says, a man throws a Molotov cocktail at the Russian consulate in Chisinau, Moldova, as Russians vote in the quote-unquote election. And after being caught, he shouted, "I hate Russia," and the Russians quickly gathered and demanded that the police hand him over. So once again, we see people lashing out against Russia, this time in Moldova. And let's go ahead and take a look at this video here. And also be sure to watch, because he throws the Molotov right at the beginning of the video, and it's almost easy to miss. So let's take a look and see what we have here. So there went the Molotov right over the fence, and there goes the guy running off. And there are some, I believe, some authorities chasing after him as he's running away at full speed. And it looks like they might have caught up to him. So yeah, that is definitely the authorities, and they're taking him into custody, as you can see here. And that is the end of the incident. But as we can see here, people are quite upset about the Russian election, and they are getting quite angry and throwing Molotovs over at the consulate here inside of Moldova. But with that, we're moving on to our next post, which goes to Nexta. And we're learning some more news here of electronic warfare systems in Kaliningrad, which are continuing to operate at full capacity and cover more areas. And we can see that at least 873 airplanes had navigation equipment malfunctioning, and every single one of them is a passenger flight filled with civilians. And if we take a look at the map here, you can actually see a heat map of all the aircraft that have been jammed over the last, actually, it looks like just 2 days. And they've been jammed over Germany, near Denmark, Sweden, Lithuania, and also Estonia as well. And the Russians have been trying to jam these aircraft for longer than that. But that's simply a map of the most recent ones. And it looks like Russia is trying to cause some chaos here with that. I'm not sure if they're trying to cause one of these commercial airliners to actually crash, which would be the most extreme outcome. And it looks like they're actually getting away with it for now. So with that, let's move on to our next story here, which goes to militaryland.net. And in this video, we can see 2 UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters in the service of the Ukrainian Main Directorate of Intelligence, also known as the HRU-MO. And real quick, let's just admire the beauty of these Black Hawk helicopters in this short video below, which have the Ukrainian markings all over the side. So let's take a look. And look at that, slow motion and all. And the Ukrainian emblems right on the side of that helicopter. And I have to say, the Black Hawk is a pretty cool looking helicopter. And it looks like they know how to sling those helicopters around as well, because they sure are indeed. And with that, let's go ahead and move on to our last article of the day, and this one goes to Visegrad24 yet again. And in this post, we can see an election billboard with Putin's face and the message, quote-unquote, stability, but the Ukrainian drone swarm decided to disagree. So as you can see in this photo here, there is that campaign billboard with Putin's face on it. It says stability in Russian, and behind it, you can see a big fire. Which seems to be a motif of the Russian Federation these days, which is trying to put forth the propaganda image that everything's fine, but in the meantime, everything's on fire. But with that little piece of news out of the way, that is actually our last piece of the day. So I hope you found this video informative, and if you have, go ahead and press that subscribe button, and also like the video as well, because that greatly helps us get the news out there. And also be sure to go sign up on our Patreon page as well. Over there you can support us financially, and the link is in the description below for that. So be sure to go sign up on Patreon. And with that, be sure to join us tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. It's Sunday night, of course. It is our fundraiser stream for Ukraine, and we'll be streaming at 10 p.m. Eastern. So with that, bye-bye for now.